The next concept is diction and stylistic pattern. Now, what do I mean by diction? Diction is the use of or the choice of words and phrases in your writing or in your speech. What kind of words and phrases are you using to express an idea? Now, the problem with the English language is it's very complex, and a particular word can have different meanings in different contexts. And then the synonyms of a particular word can be appropriate in some contexts and not so in others. Let me explain this. Let's just take a simple word, pay. Now, the word pay, it means to give money to someone for work that they have done. You pay the driver, you pay, various people. So if they give you work, you pay them money. That's one. The company pays its employees very well. Now, the same pay can also mean to give or do something that is nothing to do with money, to give something, that is, he paid her a compliment, he gave her a compliment. So it's just giving something. Or it can also mean to do something. You must pay attention in class. There, you're not giving anybody anything, you're just paying attention. That means you're listening to what's happening in class. So it also means something you do. Yet another meaning can be to call on someone. I paid my grandmother a visit. So you're calling on someone. So these are 3-4 different meanings of pay. Now what happens is, just because now we've established the meanings of pay, the company pays its employees very well, okay? A synonym for pay would be reimburse. So here, of course, I could say the company reimburses its employees very well. But does that mean I can use reimburse for every time that I use the word pay in any sentence? I paid my grandmother a visit. Can I say I reimbursed my grandmother a visit? No, that would be absurd. So that would be completely wrong. You don't reimburse your grandmother. So the correct meaning depends on the context. Words have different meanings and you'll have to look at the context. Obviously, pay and reimburse, especially in this case, are not interchangeable under all circumstances. Now, another possible confusion occurs when a word has multiple meanings, but in a particular context, only one of those meanings fits. Like pays had different meanings, and in the context of that sentence, only one meaning fits. Okay, so here we have Filippo Tommaso Marinetti was the first artist in the modern era to think of the preparation and consumption of food as art. The avant-garde futurist movement, formed by Marinetti and other artists in Milan in 1909, embraced the industrial age and all things mechanical, from automobiles and planes to manufacturing methods and city planning. Now let's look at the options. No change, took into one's arms, enveloped and seized. Now embraced is the given one. What are we looking at? Or are these words related? Embraced means to take into one's arms, and it also, to envelope means to surround. That's what you would do if you took someone into your arms. And seized, that is held with both hands. Well, that's actually the furthest from the meanings. But what is the meaning that's implied in the context? What is the meaning you need? Formed by this, these artists, this movement formed by the artists in 1909 embraced the industrial age and all things mechanical. Now, are we looking at a secondary meaning of one of these words? Let's look at the secondary meaning of embraced. To embrace also means, please remember, to accept a belief or theory or to accept even change willingly and enthusiastically. Now, in that meaning, would it fit in here, the industrial age, to embrace, something new, and you accept it willingly and enthusiastically? But then would any of these mean the same? Take into arms, seize the industrial age and all things? No, it was not taking into the arms or seizing. Seizing has got more of a physical connotation. But here we are not talking about physically holding something, but we're talking about accepting it mentally. And therefore, to be took into one's arms will not fit, nor will seized. And envelope means to surround. That's another, that's the general meaning for envelope. But again, we are talking about accepting it in your mind. And therefore, A is the only one which is likely to be the answer. B, C, and D are wrong, and therefore we will accept A as the answer. Here's another one. When I think of food and art, intuitively I recall the big, beautiful still lives of the Dutch Golden Age that I first encountered in a Northern Renaissance art history class. In these glorious paintings, each surface from the glistening feathered coats of duck carcasses on shiny silver platters to the dewy skin of fruit and berries is carefully altered to make it appear that the feast is sitting right in front of the viewer. In the 1600s, such paintings attested to the owner's wealth and intellectual engagement. My options. Now, another way I would advise students to look at it when you have these kind of words, look at the first words here. This one has altered, rendered, depicted, and repeated. What is the idea being conveyed? In these glorious paintings, so it's a positive word that you're looking for. Each surface, from the glistening feathered coats of duck carcasses on shiny silver platters to the dewy skin of fruit berries, is carefully altered, rendered, depicted, repeated. Which do you think you can eliminate first? Now, it's not just a thing of repeated. So D is really bad. Of these four, D is the worst. And alter, to make it appear that the feast is sitting, it's not altered. That has a very negative, just changed for convenience. No. So the two that look best are rendered and depicted. And then move on to the rest of the choice. Rendered to create the illusion that the feast is sitting, or depicted to create awareness. Is it to create awareness? No, it's to create an illusion. A painting is usually to create an illusion. So C is also wrong and B is the answer. Now, the next what we're telling you is the SAT and the ACT could test you on things like, the confusion that a lot of students might have between two similar sounding words, accept, accept. If you're in a hurry, you could actually overlook many of these. Even the two simple words THAN and THEN. This could happen with that. And of course, any of these. What's the difference? PRINCIPAL principle or PRINCIPLE. So there's a whole list here. Just 3 of them, I'm going to take it up over here. It's discussed later on at the end of this in a more detailed form. Now, let me tell you just these 3. Difference between prosecute and persecute, elicit and illicit, indeterminate and interminable. The thing is, all of you might know the meanings, but when you are working under pressure in a hurry, you might just overlook. You have to know the difference in the meaning. So let's take the first one, prosecute. That means to conduct legal proceedings against. For example, in a sentence, if you were to use it, many vacant properties, put up signs reading, trespassers will be prosecuted. If you trespass on this property, legal action will be taken against you. And persecute means to treat someone unfairly or in a poor manner over a long period of time. The Jews were persecuted by Hitler's regime. And when you are asked to pick between these two, if you're not paying attention, you could pick one for the other. So be careful. You have to know the difference. Elicit means to obtain or produce something, usually some information or a reaction. The announcement elicited a round of applause from the audience. Illicit is that which is not legal, that is not allowed. Gambling is considered illicit in many countries. The last two, indeterminate and interminable. Now, indeterminate that just means that which cannot be measured or determined or counted. The number of people who have died because of the plague is indeterminate. And the other one would be interminable. That is unending. It's just going on and on and on. Boring. Never ending or apparently not ending. The director's speech was interminable and many in the audience were getting restless. So this is just one illustration of how you could get confused between two very similar sounding words. They are also nearly spelt alike. Therefore, please make sure, go through that list that we provided you and make sure that you know all of them distinctly. And if you don't, note it down and work through them. Now, the other thing, last thing that I want to stress on as far as diction goes is please don't think that these two words, if and whether, are interchangeable. The words are not interchangeable. I don't know if it will rain today. We talk like this. But that word if is wrong over there. When you're talking about two possibilities, that is, it may rain, it may not rain, You do not use the word if. You say, I don't know whether it will rain today. The above construction is wrong because the speaker is talking about two possibilities. It may rain, it may not. So the right sentence is, I don't know whether it'll rain today. Whether is used when one is talking about two possibilities. They're wondering whether they will be punished. If, on the other hand, is used only to express a conditional statement. If it rains, the match will be cancelled. If you don't like the room, you can move into another one. If you had, now those two were in the future. The last example is one for the past tense. If you had worked hard, you would have done well in the exam. So please don't confuse between these two words. Now we move on to stylistic pattern type of questions. In these questions, the student is expected to note the style of writing in the given passage and choose the option which is as similar in style to that. Now, similar in style, what are you looking for? Is it formal or informal kind of language? What's the tone? Has it been a positive tone all along? Continue with the same positive tone. And the voice, is it talking in first person, second person, and such things is what you would be looking at. So, let's take an example. In 1932, Marinetti published The Futurist Cookbook. It was not merely a set of recipes. It was a kind of manifesto. He cast food preparation and consumption as part of a new worldview in which entertaining became avant-garde performance. The book described the necessary elements for a perfect meal. Such dining had to feature originality, harmony, sculptural form, scent, music between courses, a combination of dishes and variously flavored small canapes. Now, the options. First, of course, the given one. He cast food preparation and consumption as part of a new worldview. Next, like they are something new, as a fragment of some newfangled posture, in some weird type of viewing. Right. Okay. Look at the rest of the passage and what do you think? What would fit in with the language, the formal tone or informal tone, or somewhere between formal and informal tone that is there in the passage? Most passages on the SAT you're going to find are somewhere between very, very formal and informal. They will never be very informal, except if it is a conversation, and they will be very formal only in case of scientific papers. You're going to find them somewhere in the middle over here. So you would eliminate anything which appears very, very informal. Like they are something new now. This is typical of today's language. He casts food preparation and consumption like they are something new. Absolutely wrong. It's kind of slang. And he casts food preparation and consumption in some weird type of viewing, both very, very casual language. You would be able to throw it out. You're left with A and C. He casts food preparation and consumption as part of a new worldview, as a fragment of some newfangled posture. Isn't that a little high level compared to the rest of the passage? Yes, certainly it is. C is too high level is the answer.